Gotta relax.
This is Earth Radio. And now here's human music.
Human music. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Gotta relax.
This is Earth Radio. And now here's human music.
Human music. I like it. I like it.
Alright, let's try that again. Alright. Hello, ladies and... we're off to a good start. So I'm pretty sure my mic just muted itself for no reason. It's been a long day. So I've been working today, and so I'm a little tired and a little loopy, and that's gonna be great. But it's Wednesday. It's art streams. We're doing arty art stuff. I've got a couple of things sort of lined up that we can play around with. But I think we're also going to just, figure something out and come up with something as we go along. People can let me know if the music is too loud. But I think it's fine at the moment. We're going to start with a little vibe check. You can also vibe check yourself if you would like. The vibe is 9. I don't think that's right, but let's start at 9 and we'll work our way up. Because, that's a vibe. Tired now. Exhausted after having to start my stream twice. Hey, yeah, so this is what we're doing. I have just put up 2 new artworks. I did them over the course of a couple of days while I was teaching. I apologize for the quality of the photography. I took it with my phone. And it's a little shit, but we're going to clean it up. We're going to make it prettified, I think, and see how we go. So we're going to start with this Terran Marine from StarCraft. I've been replaying StarCraft 2, the campaign, just for the fun of it, because I needed something to like mindless. Yeah, so that's why we're doing that. Then I also have my my Druid, Urban Druid series, which I thought, along with our animation, I would do a illustrated version. So we have this lovely illustrated version that I've done. I'm unhappy with the size of this car, so that needs to be changed. But I'm not sure what we're actually going to do with this. I think I was probably just showing it off, really. But hey, that's why you're here. And then the last one we need to do, I'm actually going to do a traditional art version of this, but, as in like a proper painting. But I need to do a portrait, a self-portrait, because I have a Secret Sitter painting challenge thing that I was doing, and for some reason they gave me myself. They were supposed to give me another person, another artist, who was going to be part of the group. And they apparently just gave me my own pictures and my own details. I'm going to double check that that's correct. But apparently, so I'll just do a painting of myself and then submit it and just be like, self-portrait. Yay. So we're going to do a digital futz around, and just see how we go. Here is a skinnier version of me, because I've put on a few. Yeah. So we'll be playing around with that. I don't know what I want to do with it. I really like this picture. It's ridiculous, but I kind of love it. But we're gonna need to do something to make it more interesting, and then sort of artify me in it a little. But we'll start with this, which is what I was originally planning on doing before I got distracted by all the other possibilities of things. Oh no! Little Spiky! Little Spiky's freaking out again. It keeps flashing red. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. On the camera very well. He's not feeling well. I think it's because the batteries are running out. But it is a very strange... Yeah, it's just like turning on and then immediately flashing. I don't know why. I think it's the batteries. We'll change the batteries for next stream. But little Spiky is unhappy. All the other friends are fine. It's just little Spiky. As soon as we named him, he got all fussy. Alright, so we were just going to do some like little character study type things to begin with. I honestly don't even know what we're going to be doing with them. But I think the idea that I had originally was just like, hey, let's see if we can do some interesting figure studies, and see what comes out of it. And if anything interesting comes out of it, then, you know, awesome. Okay, yeah. My tablet's being a little weird, but we'll do. We'll manage. We'll manage. Oh, hope everybody's having a good day. Like I said, mine's tiring. Not particularly bad, though. Which is good, because in teaching it can be. So we're just going to do real basic figure studies, I think. Nothing too intense. Just want to be like, oh hey, yeah, that's approximately humanoid. I know we're low energy today, so approximately humanoid is the best you're gonna get. And then we'll turn it into something a little bit more dynamic or interesting. Hey, I could catch a wild parasect. Why not? So what has everybody been up to at the moment? Anything interesting happening in your worlds? Feel free to let us know in the chat. Fucking rigged. Parasect got away. Yeah, so I've been replaying StarCraft. I don't know, the mood just sort of struck me. And I always like... I do remember the quality of the game whenever I'm, like, not playing it. But coming back to it every single time, I'm like, it's actually a really good game. Like, they put a lot of effort into it. And, like, there is a lot of sort of heavy cutscene thing, which you can sort of skip over and it doesn't really matter, but, like, there's a very strong story element, and the game really encourages you to, like, engage with it. To like use the story to work with the mechanics of how you actually play. It's interesting. Oh dear. I don't know. That's Lizzie Bell in the background.
Bonjour. Ça va?
She is being French.
No.
She's being very French.
No. Trying not to polite your fault, actually. He's put me in the wrong spot for this.
That would be terrible.
Oh, wait.
Bonjour, Omri. Don't really know where I'm going with this, but I've kind of decided on weird ballerina in the middle of a pond.
That's a choice.
It is a choice.
I like it though. So far.
Yeah. Oh no, did it? So I've been listening to a lot of like fear-mongering in the art community recently around the issue of like AI developed artworks. There's quite a few platforms out now. They have been developing over the past, I'd say sort of 3 or 4 years now, in terms of like their actual applicability. Where previously they sort of haven't really had the technological skill and processing power and databases and stuff to be able to like really pull something together as an image. Now you've got these new, like really in the last 2 or 3 months, you've had this huge explosion of like Midjourney is one, Dreamscape is another. There's a few more as well. Some of them are like paid subscription, but some of them are sort of like freebie, but they're not as good kind of thing. And I've been hearing a whole bunch of artists, like some of my arty friends, and then also just like people online. A lot of people online just sort of like, oh my god, this is the death of the art world, and blah blah blah. Like when someone can put in a prompt into an AI machine, and it will spit out exactly the image they want. Like, why would you ever need an artist? Like, concept art is just going to be that forever. And all these kind of, like, general doomsaying. Kind of like, this is the end of the industry, this is terrible for the industry, we need to do something about it. Blah, 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 blah. And I can't help but, like, disagree. I understand the point of view, and I think if the technology gets significantly better, there is potential for like that to go that way, for it to be like very very like toxic to the art community, that like you'll have art like only really being for hobby or for like specific collector types who like enjoy, I'm saying like too much today, who enjoy the like the process and the technique and being able to see that and know that it was made by, you know, a real person. Some sort of like traditionalist viewpoint, of which there are definitely like that as a thing. There's people who are like really into old Super 8 films and things like that, and they will like seek out those specific like media and films shot on that, and only watch it on that, on its traditional form, which is an interesting idea, as a like, well, that's a balancing force, but there are a lot of people who are like, well, that, you know, that's not good enough, because at the moment we have this like strong art community that is essentially our career, and if people, you know, don't take that seriously enough, then we end up losing it. And what do we do when people are no longer buying artworks, no longer making artworks, because you can just plug it into a computer and the computer does it all for you? I think there is a level of sort of naivety to that. Like, if your stuff is quality enough, it shouldn't be as much of an issue. Which is like a little bit of a slap in the face to some, but like, you know, there is a level of truth to that. But the other side of it, and I think the more important side of it, is just honestly that like the technology is never going to be perfect. It'll get close, but even now, like if you look at a lot of the stuff coming out of like Midjourney and stuff, you can specify, oh hey, in the style of this particular artist, and it will sort of approximate something close to, but everything is pretty like dark, gritty, cyberpunk version of, because that's the artist and artworks that it's been fed into its sort of algorithm, and that's what it knows how to make. It's not very good at doing high fidelity detail, and it's not very good at doing like specifically what you ask it to do. It'll chuck you out like, I don't know, a tardigrade on the moon, or What's another good one I've seen? There's a lot of really good, like, cyberpunk dystopia, Netrunner vibe things. And I think that's where it really excels, in this kind of, like, over-the-top, hyper-saturated, stylized image. And if it can stay in that, then it does really, really well. Except that the detail work is not perfect, and you could probably iron that out with iterations of the code or whatever. But it's never going to be as perfect as an artist, like a trained and competent artist, going in and putting together exactly what you asked for. And I think that's the killer for it, in at least until, you know, the next round of technological advancement comes along. Because people are still going to want, you know, that level of quality, that level of refinement, and they're going to get sick of samey images. But there are definitely people who are, like, loving it, and who are going to continue to love it for a very long time. There was someone talking about how it would be a huge boon for, like, game developers and like tabletop RPG and video game indie developers and stuff like that, that they would be able to have a bank of decent concept mock-ups for artworks that they can put into their media, that they then don't have to, like, spend too much on, which sounds a bit shitty, but, like, the idea being that like, artworks are expensive, they take a lot of time, and if you're getting, like, a bunch of custom artworks, then, like, that can take ages, it can cost a lot of money, and most studios won't do it because it's not cost effective, and, you know, it doesn't really help them sell it. But if they can put, you know, some 30, 50 pre-generated images into the actual program that they're making, or into the RPG system that they're making, and then be able to be like, you know, here, look, this is what this is supposed to look like, to give you an idea, and then have a couple of really well created, like, finalized images. So, like, for the cover, and then for, like, a couple of character designs, or maybe you know, one of the NPCs or whatever. That way the art community is still getting their dues. The audience is still kind of getting what they want, but the audience also gets like, representations and visualizations of what things are supposed to look like, and it's not just like, guesswork. Or they don't have to use, like, a lot of theater of the mind type stuff, or the same asset over and over and over again. They can do, like, variations of the same asset, and play around with it that way. So I think there's potential for it to be a good thing. I can definitely see where the issues would come up. Maybe we'll have to do an ethics stream one day. Maybe when there's some more people engaged in the chat, we'll go through, like, major ethical theories. The trolley problem. We'll do the trolley problem on stream. So many people dislike the trolley problem. I actually kind of like it. I think it's an interesting marker of who someone is, how they respond to the trolley problem. But it's always a difficult one because for those who are unaware, we'll start, and if anybody comes in, we can ask them. But like, we'll just go over the general theory of it. Basically, the trolley problem is I can draw it out for you. Actually, here we go. So there is a trolley, like a tram or a train or whatever. Your variation, but it's on a track, so it can only really go. I'm drawing a terrible trolley. Anyway, it's on a track, and it can only go in one direction. Hello, fire. Ahead there is a sort of changeover in the track, and if the train continues to go forward, there are like 3 people. Or it's like 3 or 5 or 8 or however many you like, but someone's tied a bunch of people to the track. And there's a lever, and you're standing. There's a representation of you. You're standing at the trolley. And then on the other side of the track, on the alternate track, is one person. And the sort of the foundational basis for the trolley problem. Yes, morality things. So the basis of the trolley problem is like, is the life of 3 people more important than the life of one person? And is it morally or ethically right for you as an actor, as in someone with agency in this scenario, to pull this lever? If you do literally nothing, then 3 people will die. And there is like sort of 2 arguments for that. One being that like, do we care if these 3 people die? And then the other thing is like, you as an agent, as in someone who has agency, if you do nothing, then is that in itself an action? I hear a lot of the, well, I'll just like move this person to the other track, or I'll destroy the trolley or whatever, but like that's you physically can't do that. The idea of the challenge is like, within the parameters given, you as a physical person would never be able to stop the trolley because you're not strong enough. You do not have enough time to move any human. Like, you'd have to untie them and then move them, so you don't have enough time before the trolley's going to go. You have enough time to flip this switch, and it either careens this way or careens that way. A lot of people are like, oh well, you know, we'll just move a person, or just do this, or just do that, which, you know, is nice and idealistic, but it doesn't sort of work with the reality of the situation, or the reality of like life. And then there's like a billion variations of this. Yeah, so that's the other thing. There's sort of 2 ways you can then play with this story. Like, you start with this scenario, and then you go, okay, well, you can justify, after choosing whichever one, you can justify it by saying, oh, well, what if this other person was going to become, or what if the 3 people were going to become criminals, or, you know, they were Hitler, or blah, 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 blah. But there are variations of the trolley problem that basically go over those various scenarios, because sort of not quite objectively, but in terms of the vast majority of the people will say it is morally and ethically right to flip the switch, and by flipping the switch you kill 1 person rather than 3, because from a purely utilitarian basis, 3 people in society is going to be better than 1 person in society. The question then becomes, well, if these 3 people, or even one of these 3 people is, you know, a criminal or whatever, then is it better to have saved the 1 person? And if that 1 person is a family member or someone you know, is it better to kill 3 strangers than it would be to save the person you know? And then it gets into all sorts of silly things of like, if there was a cat on the track, and you had to kill a human, would you pull the lever and kill the cat instead? And then the argument becomes, well, you know, is an animal's life more important than a human's life, and blah, 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 blah. But I've made too many morally ambiguous characters? Do you mean that I've made morally ambiguous characters in my life, and therefore I am myself a morally ambiguous person? Because I am. Or that these individuals here are morally ambiguous? Because in the original problem, so in the OG problem, it is supposed to be people you don't know. So it's 3 people that you don't know versus 1 person that you don't know. They're complete strangers. And is it right to kill 3 people or 1 person? And that's essentially the argument. People then change it because, generally speaking, society says saving 3 people is better than saving 1 person. You would be like, oh no, shame those people died. So you would choose not to touch the lever and let 3 people die, but know that you had no hand in it and therefore it's not your fault. Is that what you're saying? Because that is a valid argument. Well, either or. So you'd kill either or and not care about it and just be like, yeah, it's fine. Because it was going to happen anyway. Determinism? Yeah. So, the 3 over the 1 is utilitarian. Utilitarian. Choosing to save the 1 over the 3 is what's the term? It's moral. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like moral action. Essentially, is like if you have taken no action, then you can't be held morally accountable. Flip a coin. I'm pretty sure coin flip is nihilism. How do I spell nihilism? Nihilism. Which is essentially just fuck it. Whichever it lands on lives. My favorite argument was you wait right until the track gets to the point at which it changes, and then you switch it so that you get multi-track drifting, and then you kill all 4. That's the favorite that I've heard so far. I've also heard the argument that like, oh, if I switch it at the very last minute, I can derail the train. That's not really how it works. But I like the idea of killing all 4 of them. Just for shits and gigs. But yeah, the trolley problem is an interesting one because it's like, especially with its a billion variations, you get into the idea of like, what is it that you value out of society and in humanity? Is it like the potential for life, or is it you know, experience, or is it basically, like, is it specific things that you favor? So, like, one of the variations they have is it's like a baby on one and like 3 elderly people on the other. And then the argument is, you know, is it better to save a baby because they've got their whole life ahead of them, or is it better to save 3 people still, even though they're sort of older and going to die sooner, not necessarily immediately, but like sooner. And what's the balance of that? Is that good or is that bad? What does that say about you? Honestly, I think most people's answers in this are just like, it doesn't really matter. The morality aspect of it, unless you're just like, yeah, I'll kill as many people as possible because that's funny, which is sort of my argument. Like, generally, you're not a bad person either way. But yeah, humans suck. Why would we bother? Humanity sucks asked me 10 years ago and I would have cared. Yep. 10 years ago I wouldn't have cared either. I think I actually would have cared less back then. Yeah, I think my instinctual reaction is like, oh yeah, I guess I'll go utilitarianism. That makes sense. And then I sort of just sit thinking about it, being like, yeah, but why? And then I sort of go, yeah, you know, do they really deserve to live? You know, blah, blah. And then I sort of fall into the trap of like, okay, well, unless I know who they are, am I really going to stick my head out for these other people? And then I'm like, oh, I'm a terrible person sometimes. So that's the trolley problem. He'd been a lot through where people just sucked. Betrayal, narcissism, abuse. It's built you to be less caring. Maybe it depends on how much they scream. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, I feel that. I myself have gone through quite a few of the shitty experiences. And so I hold a mild contempt for much of humanity and society. Just mild, though. I keep getting told by everybody that I'm on the good alignment. And I think, like, deep down, I probably know that that's true. Because I have gone out of my way a lot of times to help people. But it's often not really because I give a shit about the person, and more just because I'm like, no, I know it's the right thing to do, so I feel like I should do it anyway.
That's what makes you good aligned.
I know, but like, often my thought process with that is like, the good aligned person would do it because they care about the person.
No, someone who only does it because they care about the person is doing it for personal selfish reasons. A good aligned person will do the good thing because it's the right thing to do. You could be completely evil aligned and still do things for people you care about.
Oh yeah, true. But like...
But if you're doing it just because you know it's the right thing to do, that's what makes you good aligned.
Yeah, okay, I guess. That makes sense.
Yes.
But you'll also argue your experiences have made you extremely loyal to your friends and your chosen people. Yeah. I found that a lot with people who've gone through, like, abuse and suffered through terrible things. They become very protective and loyal, almost to the point of being, like, awkwardly defensive. But, like, in a good way, I guess, about, like people they actively care about. Like I've noticed it in a lot of my own friends, but also just like other people I know as well. That kind of abusive situation tends to sort of breed a sense of, I don't know, like hypervigilance about these sorts of issues and about just like hurting people in general. And so tend not to be super into other people, like very wary of the world and of humans, but like once you find that particular group that you're really into, then it's just like, nah, fuck it. Sorry, you've got to go for date night. Oh, well, good. Try and keep your stream open, but Twitch doesn't like, so it may shut off. No, all good. Thank you for the lurk. Thank you for joining us and discussing the trolley problem with us. We're going to do another stream, I reckon, with the trolley problem again. I think we'll go over, like, a lot of the variations. I might try and, like, get a few people. I'm trying to stifle a sneeze. I need to stop the sneeze, because if it happens, then I'll just never stop. Ugh. People who don't know this about me, I have sneezing fits. They're not really brought on by anything in particular. Like, I don't have allergies or anything, but just like, if there's dust or if there's, you know, fucking whatever in the air, and it causes me to sneeze, or if there's like something in my nose and it causes me to sneeze, I can never just sneeze once. I think the minimum amount of times I've sneezed before is like 3. And the most has been like an uncountable number for about 20 minutes. And it is hellish. It's mainly hellish because I then can't like do anything because I'm just like constantly sneezing. And it's not like, you know, rapid fire or anything, but just like every couple of seconds. Is that right? Every like 20 seconds or so. I'll just fucking like rip a sneeze out. And it's very frustrating. It will also make streaming very difficult because, you know, you can't talk and sneeze your fucking head off. This dude just got a huge fucking neck. Let's do something about that. This is basically just for shits and gigs, so I don't know why I'm spending so much time on it. But it's looking pretty good. If anybody tells you you can't be crazy and do things like this in real life, tell them to fuck off. Because who are they to tell you what to do? If you want to get arrested for public indecency, then that's your right. As a citizen of this world. If we go with sort of a dark blue, let's see what this does. That is not what I wanted it to do. Grey? Yeah, grey kind of does it. A lighter grey. And then just go in with... It's one of the great things about doing digital art. You can just throw your colors underneath, and you can fix a lot of your problems that way. That's why some people call digital art cheating. Which I think is kind of stupid as a mentality. I understand it, like, to a degree, but it does kind of seem petty in the grand scheme of things. Because, you know, digital artists working hard too. Oh, isn't that a nice drawing? Alright, so we're gonna play around with this first, and then I don't know what we're gonna do after that. We'll figure it out. So I've already basically mapped in a lot of the color for this, so I'm just gonna go over it pretty broadly. Let's do it this way. There we go. Because we do want the color of the underneath layer to kind of show through a little. This song always reminds me of like Cowboy Bebop. Just awesome show, awesome anime. But it's a lot of that very jazzy, soft, but like a little bit techno-y space mixed in. That's such a good series. I quite liked, actually, and I know it's, you know, for some people who have particular feelings about it, it might be a little controversial, but I really liked the Netflix live-action version. There were definitely some things that I think they didn't do as well. Ed at the end, Radical Edward, does not translate well at all. from anime to live action. Mainly just because it's like the whole point of the character was the ridiculousness of the character. So they probably could have approached that in a different way. Faye's story was a bit muddled. I think they did an interesting thing with it, and I kind of liked like how it turned out. But I can see people's concerns that like it was a quite different story. But yeah, I think it went pretty well. Some of it was a fairly faithful adaptation, and that was good. I thought the casting was amazing. So yeah, if you haven't yet checked it out, go and do so. You might be disappointed, you might not. I wasn't. Another great one, actually, while we're doing recommendations, Sandman. There are definitely some changes in things, but it's a fairly close adaptation of the original. The main differences are like a couple of story elements and then like some casting choices. But like some of the casting choices they just literally couldn't have. Like Bowie was one of the characters. Like it was basically the character was based on Bowie, and so you know, definitely can't get a dead man to play the part, which would have been interesting, you know, if they'd managed to pull it off, but yeah, it's pretty good. Hey, I got myself a horsey. Yeah, Neil Gaiman's storytelling abilities are amazing. Definitely need more Neil Gaimans in the world. Making awesome stories and art. Hint, hint. I said we need more people like Neil Gaiman making awesome stories and artworks. Hint, hint.
Oui. I would have published a book by now. If only.
If only. It's my fault. I haven't done it.
Can't hint at me when it's not my fault.
I mean, you could write a novel, though.
I could. I'll consider it.
You should do it.
Perhaps. Currently busy learning French.
That's fair. Yeah, Lizzie Bell wrote a children's book. A very awesome children's book, actually. I really like the story. And I have been slowly animating sections of it. And not getting terribly far. Unfortunately. And so I'm the roadblock at the moment for it going to publishing. So I need to do something about that. coming together pretty nicely. I mean, it helps that the bulk of the work is already done. Frig. Can't go wrong with a good frog. I have been attempting tiling. Doing quite poorly so far. Mainly just because I haven't actually started, but like... that in itself is kind of a struggle. Anybody has some home DIY tips, feel free to chuck them in chat. Plan to fix up the whole house at some point, whenever I get around to it. that'd be a pretty easy way of increasing the value of our property. Because we do actually own it, but it's in the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of falling apart in places. So, a fair amount of DIY is required. Alright, let's fix up this face. At the moment, we're basically just layering our color on. Because I'm going to go in and fix up the line work afterwards. Because I took it with a shitty camera. So it was always going to kind of be a little shit. The skin slightly. It's going to look a little jaundiced, but that kind of fits. Dude fighting a war in a metal suit. That's looking a little better. So we've definitely increased the vibe by now, so let's have a look where our vibe's at. Vibe check. Feel free, you can do this in the chat as well if you would like. Oh, we're up to 11. That still seems low for where we're at. Are you not feeling the vibe tonight? Wink wonk. Oh, wild Pidgey, hell yeah. Catch me a Pidgey. It's looking better already. Alright, so I'm going to copy the bottom layer and then I'm going to blur it just a little. Hey, I caught myself a Pidgey. So it has worked a little. I'm going to blur it just a little bit more. Because the idea was... yeah. That will clean some of our lines up. And sort of smooth our coloration together a little. So like, that's a pretty strong improvement already so far. So we'll keep working a little. And then we're going to ditch this. This is where our soft fixes come in. Basically anywhere where I put a line where I wasn't supposed to, I can go in and just clean it up. And I don't think the idea is to make this look perfect necessarily. I think we're just trying to get something a little cleaner. We're going to start adding in some more vibrant color here. I've basically just been color matching up until this point. Now we're going to start adding in some color. foots with the eyes a little. We're going to brighten them to begin with, just because we lost a lot. I started by making these too dark. I put in the iris details, and then I tried to put the blue in, and the blue just basically merged with the black, and we got, like, nothing. So, we'll just brighten them. Keep brightening them until we end up with our nice definition that we want. And then we'll darken the edge. Is I think how we're going to do this. Go back in with our highlight. Much better. Alright, let's fix up these teeth. That's looking pretty good. I think I need to blend out those lips a little. They're a little strong. than dick sucking lips. Still a bit much, but it'll do. I do have this tendency to like overdo lips. Don't know what it is, but how's that? A little better. Scars tend to be a little lighter. This is partially because the skin or the flesh actually grows lighter, but also no sweat glands on scars, so it doesn't pick up dirt. So if the rest of the face is particularly dirty, any of your scar lines won't be. So if your character that you're drawing happens to be doing a lot of manual labor, or happens to be in a particularly dirty area, Warzone, for example, then they will then they'll have sections that are not dirt covered, just by the fact that they can't, basically. A wild Metapod? Why not? I have to go through and like catalog all these Pokemon, I think. Looking pretty good so far. So the idea here is to add less saturation as the frog's mouth extends, because the idea is this is hollow, and so it's less coloration. It's looking pretty good. Bit of sheen to it. What a good frag. So, for those who don't know, slightly controversially as it is, StarCraft, the game by Blizzard, who, you know, lots of controversies and stuff, but we'll skip over that. Yeah, the IP for it basically was originally Warhammer 40k. The Marines were supposed to be the Space Marines. They ended up becoming the Terran Marines because Games Workshop was like, no, we don't want you making this game. Mainly because they thought that they would be able to do more on their own. Blizzard sort of started making the game on the assumption that they would end up getting the rights, partially because they had sort of been told already that they would be, so it's a bit of a fucking cheeky thing there. But also, the idea behind it was like, there was no reason for them not to get the rights to this thing. So they just sort of started making and went along with it. And the guys at Games Workshop were not particularly happy about that. And so they, you know, cease and desist order, and, you know, you can't do that. And so then there was this big long fuss. And then they end up releasing the game anyway, and just changing a whole bunch of stuff. So the Tyranids become the Zerg, the Eldar become the Protoss, with a kind of a mix of like Tau influence. And so you end up with this kind of like half inspiration, half just like copy thing, which is a bit weird. Because every time I look at like the Terran Marines, I'm like, oh, they're Space Marines. It's just they like look at that and tell me that's not just a Space Marine with a different helmet. So that's what we started with. That's where we're at. I'm going to duplicate this layer and see what that does. Does that ruin things excessively? I think... There we go. Do that, merge it down. Because I don't want to like completely get rid of it entirely, but I'm also not particularly interested in keeping like all of the line art below. the idea for this sort of is that we're going to go in and redo the line art. So, it doesn't really matter if we kind of kill some of the detail in here. But what that will do is then make it harder for us to see where our line art is. So I don't want to completely swamp it out. It also makes it just look messier. So we'll try and avoid it too much. And we'll just keep on going. Hoping people are enjoying this. I am. Trying to think of what another good like ethical puzzle challenge thing is that we can discuss. We've discussed the Ship of Theseus before on the channel, which kind of ended in let's say heated debate. I think I was arguing my side a little bit too aggressively. So, apologies to Chaos and Cog around that one. And Barbie, I think, was in that discussion as well. Barbie Pants. But yeah, Ship of Theseus is a good one, especially for like the original itself is kind of like it's a similar to the trolley problem thing, with like the first one is like, yeah, okay, interesting concept, like where does our morality come from? Are we just like purely utilitarian in our arguments kind of thing? Which, you know, that I probably would argue yes most of the time, and then that's sort of the end of the discussion and then move on. But like, in with the trolley problem, a Ship of Theseus also gets really interesting and really good when you start adding in your like the variations on that theme, and then what that does for sort of the story of the morality that you're projecting. So like an example in the trolley problem is like, okay, if it stops being about strangers and starts being about someone you know versus like strangers, everybody else, or like animals versus humans, and what do you value more, and that kind of stuff. That's when it stops being about like this kind of objective reality or objective morality, and starts being about like very specifically your ethics and your choices. Like, what would you personally do in this scenario, and what does that say about you? Which I think is a far more interesting conversation. And like Ship of Theseus is a similar one, because you start getting into the discussions around like, oh, okay, well, what about like a teleporter, or what about like you as an individual? Are you the same being as when you were born, despite the fact that like none of the atoms that make up you now currently exist in your body, from like the same as the atoms of when you were born, and you could never guarantee that was the case. Does that mean that you're an entirely different person? And what are the sort of the ramifications of that as a concept? That is sort of where it gets interesting, I think, for me. Similar with the trolley problem thing of like when it starts getting either personal, as in like the people involved, or when it starts being about like here is these like niche situations that's not necessarily about like saving one person over another, but like what do you value in an individual, or what do you value in society, and what is important to you. Do you would you value there's one that's like a scientist on one end and a sports person on the other, or there's one that's like a teacher on one side and then a lawyer on the other, and like based on your personal interactions with these professions, or just like your general viewpoint of these professions and what they provide to society, your answer will probably be vastly different to someone else's. Alright, I think line art is going to significantly improve this now, so we might start with line arting the line art, and seeing what that does for us. Wild Pidgeot? Hell yeah. I always do hair, like eyebrow hair and stuff, as line art. I'm never sure if I really should. It seems like it's an appropriate thing to... because, like, you can colorize underneath it to, like, fill it out or whatever. But, like, getting the individual hairs in and, like, structured the right way is sort of more important than... I don't know, being able to shift them. Oh hey, caught my Pidgeot. That's exciting. Give him a bit of a unibrow thing. Don't want him to look too attractive. It's supposed to be a bit world weary. That's not what I was going for. Grizzled? Grizzled, there you go. Kinda mean the same thing, I guess. If anybody out there in Streamland particularly likes my art style and would like to commission works off me, I am open for commissions. I've finished off all but one of my recent commissions. So if you have the coin and the want, feel free to ask about it. You can either ask in chat or you can ask on the Discord. You can PM me. Lots of options and opportunities there. Still trying to get myself out of teaching. So every little bit there helps. Save up to move to Melbourne. The one I haven't finished yet is actually the animation for the work for Firelight Chaos, which has been in the works for a little while, but animating the pieces is a bit finicky. I've been playing around with the animation. That's why I did the Urban Druid character. I was playing around with the animation properties in the program and just figuring out how they work. I did animation at university, but I used Photoshop and Flash, Adobe Flash. This is way back in the day. And so Flash isn't even a thing anymore. Pretty sure they discontinued the Flash player, and I don't use Photoshop anymore. So there's that. I can go on a nice long rant about that. Photoshop has been getting significantly more and more expensive over the years. And while they have been improving their product slightly, they haven't been improving it as much as it costs to use. And I understand that, like, you have a product, you want to make money off it so that you can keep making more product, or developing things or whatever. But the whole subscription model thing is very frustrating and kind of shitty. Especially for, like, well, it's a suite of things that you get access to. It's like, well, I don't use the vast majority of them. I'm never going to, except for maybe like once or twice. And there are free open source options which do a comparable job, or even just like cheaper options. If I had a tablet, because I think it's just that it's on tablet is the reason I can't use it, but Procreate is a good one. That's I believe it's cost, but it's like a one-off, and it's pretty decently priced for what it is. yeah, if anybody's looking at things that they can price wise work out, Photoshop is a terrible option. To go with Photoshop. But going with the Procreate's pretty good. It's got a lot of decent tools in it. Critter, which is what I'm currently using, is pretty awesome. Their animation stuff is not particularly intuitive. Actually, I'd probably argue that there's a fair amount of their tools that are not super intuitive. Not bad, just like unless you know what you're doing ahead of time, it can be a little tricky to get them to work exactly how you want them to. And there's a little bit of functionality that's lacking. Like the threshold tolerances for the magical select tool and things like that. It's not... It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I'm clearly still using it because it's good. It's significantly better than GIMP, which is what I was using before. GIMP's not that bad either, but this is just much better. So if you want to swap over to something, I would recommend Critter. It's a pretty good program. Yeah, I greatly dislike any subscription-based system. I think either let me buy it outright for a reasonable price, or like fuck off, basically. I think it's a different story if, like, the devs of the program are constantly updating it and they're constantly adding in new things and new tools and like, working with their consumers, their buyers, audience? Consumer probably works best in this scenario. To like work on things that they actually need, and tools to help them do that. If that was the case, then I'd be like, yep, cool, subscription service makes sense because you are still working on it, you're still updating it, you are providing something above and beyond just what the thing is. That makes sense. But it's incredibly frustrating when, like, Microsoft, Windows, like the Office suite, for example, and then Adobe with like the whole CS suite. They're not adding significant things to it enough to make it like, oh yeah, I can justify having to pay, you know, X amount of money for the suite of tools every year or every month, or you know, however you decide to pay for it. And then the one-off payment is just fucking ridiculous because they're trying to avoid you buying it outright. They want to make the creep money, the small amount of money every year or every few months that you don't realize you're spending that much of until it kind of all piles up together, and then you're like, oh shit, it is actually a decent chunk of money over the course of the life of you using those tools or whatever. And their argument is essentially, oh well, people are making money off using our tools, so why shouldn't we make money off them using our tools? But like, you've already provided the tool and the service. Like, we don't have subscription hammers. You buy a hammer once and then you use it for whatever you need to use it for, and if it breaks, then you have to buy a new one. Obviously, software doesn't break as often. The argument would be, well, you have to buy the new update to get the new tools, but you kind of already have to do that. And then their argument is like, well, if you buy the subscription service, then you don't have to buy the new thing because you just like updates automatically, blah blah blah. And there's some argument to be made there. But over the life of it, it just seems like you're paying a lot more for not getting a lot out of it. And I really hope that someone like does the math and then points out that I'm wrong, because I'd love to be wrong about this sort of thing and just be like, well, I'm being an old grouchy man as usual. But I don't think I am. Because like everybody I've talked to in the industry is like, yeah, no, there's the shitty predatory practices. Anybody who does like design for a living is like, nah, fucking hate Photoshop. It's industry standard, so I have to use it, but I fucking hate that I have to use it. And they would like 100% ditch it if they could. Wild Abra? Yeah, why not? Let's catch us an Abra. Alright, it's 10:30. We're going to keep going a little longer. Maybe until 11. And then we'll raid out to someone. We'll keep working on this just to clean it up a little bit more. After this stream, I probably won't work on this one anymore, so whatever gets done now gets done, and then that's kind of the end of it. I'm pretty happy with how it's turning out so far. Hey, call me an Abra. My stream is just essentially, like, me whinging about shit, isn't it? I kinda wish it wasn't, but it's sort of just who I am. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I have a merch store. I'm currently wearing some of my lovely merch. Check it out. Oh, I don't know if you can see that very well. It's our lovely koi design. So click the link, check it out if you want. The koi, the bottled Bottled Storm and the Arbitrator designs turned out really, really well. I'm loving them. And the other ones, the Mush Mimic, the Mush Dragon, and the Divine Agony, all also turned out very well. I'm very happy with them. Those have particularly soft and nice shirts and hoodies, so you can't really go wrong. But I definitely have some favorites at the moment, and it seems like other people have favorites too. So far, most of our purchases have been within those first three. So if you would also like to wear some of my awesome art, feel free to go and check it out. There is also my Instagram, and you can check out some more awesome artworks by me. I've been doing a bunch of random shiz lately, so it's worth going and checking that out, seeing what's happening. What are the haps? Okay, this is a significant improvement. So from that to this to that. Now I think we just colorize this background a little. So what we're going to do is, I think just magic select. Yeah, cool. That looks like everywhere we actually want to color in. And I think I'm going to start by lightening it all. And then I'm going to have to do the same on here. There we go. And then I'm going to chuck like a darkened layer in. I think, because there we go. And I think I'm going to do it just on this paint layer. Basically, I just want to like boop. And then if we erase, there we go. How does that actually end up looking? What we could do... Forcing? We should actually just erase this first, because it's causing problems. And it actually doesn't serve a purpose at the moment. On this layer. Yep. And erase. This layer, we're going to colorize. So either that, or just like straight black. There we go, and then black. Alright, let's clean up these edges. Well, enough. Alright, let's put another layer over the top. It's just going to be our shading layer. So we're just going to darken some sections. Oh, frou-frou. I don't think we want a frou-frou. And then we're going to add in some light. Just little bits here and there. If you're stuck on how to make your work more dynamic, have a look at your lighting. Adding extra layers of like high contrast lighting can really help to make artworks pop in particular areas. And you don't want to like overdo it too much. But the idea is like you should have at least a few focal points of quite strong light. Because like, yeah, so we go from scratchy to colorized but flat to dynamic. And if you keep adding more of this contrast, you notice I started with the kind of that pinky red because I was trying to get the light hue off the cigar here. And like the idea is that the more you put in of that light differentiation, the more of a contrast and therefore the more dynamic your piece will look. And that's basically just like adding in more sections of higher contrast light and dark. Dynamic pieces look better, usually, not always, but usually, and tend to also be more realistic. Because there tends to be a lot of high contrast and like dynamic lighting in real life. I might do a Might do a stream basically just going over like lighting rules one day. We'll do a couple of like art studies on works that have like quite good lighting differentiation. Play around with that. Here's the trick though. The more you add in, the more likely you are to overdo it. So just be careful. I do have a tendency to overdo my lighting a little. That's getting a bit better. I think I want to just shade these eyes back slightly. The nose here. This side of the face, that side of the face. Just a little more. Cool. Right, and then just a little bit more of this like hyper vibrancy here. Oh, tired love. I said, oh, tired love. Fatigue. Yeah. You're a dog.
Shave this one to...
Going to bed?
That's not what I was trying to say.
Oh.
This one to go up on the
Hmm?
shape. This one to go up on the
Yes. Oh, this one's flashing now as well. Our unnamed owl is now flashing. Which basically confirms, okay, it's a battery issue. So we've only got our little fire going left. All of our stream mascots have gone to sleep. That's alright. Okay, we're gonna save this work, which took a little longer than I thought it would, but that's fine. Maybe there's too much running on the computer currently. And then we'll export this as a PNG. I'll just make sure that it's not too huge, and then we'll save it to the things. Ooh, 20 megabytes. That's going to be too big. Let's export it again. LR. Low res. Compress it. That did not do enough. Let's try. Let's try again. Nope. Clearly too tired for this. Compress, yes. Transparent, done. Exporting. I mean, honestly, I could probably actually just merge all the layers down, and that would shrink the file size. It's still huge. Also, I noticed a bit that I am currently unhappy with, so let's just quickly clean that up before we run away. There you go, that's a bit better. Alright. Save again. And then export as. I'm just gonna try it as a JPEG and see what it does. Oh, there we go. Significantly better. Cool. Happy days. Alright. Yeah, so this is what we worked on today. It's lovely. And this is the little practice-y ridiculous that we did. Which, yeah, fuck it, why not? Let's save it. Because it ain't terrible. And we're gonna raid into someone, so if anybody has a suggestion, I was thinking Cognitive Beard. He's probably not even watching. But I thought it was funny, and that's all that matters. We've got Mal, we've got Barrow, we've got Ari Bean, we've got Stuff by Sunshine, we've got Steve Preston, we've got a whole bunch of art streamers today. Let's have a look who's currently doing what. Ari is drawing shoes. Mao is drawing a dwarven fighter, apparently. And Barrow is doing his weekly art along. It's been a little while since we've raided into Barrow, so let's raid into Barrow, I think. Oh, he's doing interesting things as well. Right, fun. Right, Discord. Get out of the way. File size is 8 megabytes. Alright. That's done. Let's raid into James B. Barrow. Thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you had a good time. I know I did. Feel free to copy my raidy do. Couple of bees and a wiggler. And we will probably be back tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to be doing, but we'll be doing something. So we'll figure that out. If Cog's not around, we'll either GTA and just random stuff with whoever happens to be available, or maybe we'll do some of the StarCraft campaign, and you can sit and watch me play. While I talk shit and be terrible at the game. Anyway, thank you so much for joining, and we will catch you next time. Bye, everybody.